Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Bullony Basketball. Here today with my guy Michael, also known as MDBawesome. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
I'm also doing good. We're recording today in Discord. We had some technical difficulties, but hey, we had to push through. We got to make this episode work. I missed last week because I was out of town, so we're here making it work today. So I think we should start with the main topic of the video, the in-season tournament. The Elite Eight, as one would say, they played, but it wasn't in Vegas yet. Now we're going to Vegas, Michael. We're going to Vegas. So,
Yes, sir.
we got four teams left. We got the Pacers and Bucks, and we got the Pelicans and Lakers going against each other. So do you have any what are your predictions with how that Final Four is going to play out, and who do you think is going to win the first ever in-season tournament cup?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little biased. My Pacers have been hooping, Indiana bound. I kind of want them to take it, and they just might do it. Honestly, I mean, I feel like they might be the underdog in this entire thing. Because we got all these super teams with the Bucks and the Celtics and all that stuff. But I think the Pacers might sneak one in there and come out and get this win.
Yeah, I think that the Pacers could do it. Halliburton was saying I'm tired of being a loser, and he's never made the playoffs, and really a lot of those guys like Buddy Hield hasn't, Ben Mathurin hasn't. So it's big for them. It's like this is kind of their playoffs in a way. I still think they're going to make it at the end of the year, regardless in the playoffs. But this is kind of like their first glimpse of it, first taste of it, and they did so against a team, against a team like Boston, who has been to the finals. They have proven veterans on their team. So that was impressive. Now they're gonna have to do it against the Bucks, which is gonna be tough. I know you're a big Dame guy as well. So,
Yeah, Dame Dollar, man.
but so who do you think then? If you have the Pacers, I would probably say the Bucks are gonna win. I just feel like now the anticipation is built up that it's like who wants to be the one to be the first, and I just feel like the Bucks are too good. But who do you think they're gonna play then? Is it gonna be the Pelicans or the Lakers? Your Pacers pick.
Uh, Maybe the Lakers. I'm not. I think I'd rather them take the Lakers.
Yeah, it would feel better. LeBron, he has a tendency to lose in the finals. Um, uh, I feel like honestly, if it were the Kings against the Lakers, I feel like the Kings would have won. And I still think the Suns really let one go. They should have won the other day against the Lakers, but I feel like the Pelicans are not a great matchup that the Lakers will probably win. And at least for me, Bucks and Lakers, I feel like the Bucks will probably come out on top. They just seem like a better team. They've been playing really well lately, and it's kind of gone under the radar because everyone's talking about the coach, which yeah, he does make some questionable decisions, Adrian Griffin, and their bench might not be the greatest, but they've kind of piled together a lot of wins here. I know you saw the biggest comeback of the season in person. So
I did. I did see that. That was hype. And
yeah,
against of all teams, the Blazers of all teams, that game was honestly so scary to watch. I'm glad they won that. I would have been so mad if they lost.
they had to bring out their best showing for Dame. Scoot was kind of cooking for a bit.
He
Um,
was. What did he have? 19?
he had something. It was I think a season high, but he had like three threes, and I was like, this man can't shoot threes. What's going on? He thinks he's Dame out there, but I
Yeah.
guess on the point of the in season tournament, I think it'll be Bucks over Lakers. Seems like you have Pacers over Lakers, and I guess the last thing I'll ask you before we move on is this in season tournament. Do you think it should have a value for someone's legacy? Because I'm seeing people say, yeah, the in season tournament, it should have a big weight on someone's career. But I'm also seeing people say, this is the bubble, the Mickey Mouse 2.0. So, where do you stand on that?
I'm kind of just in the mid ground. I don't think it's that huge of a deal. If it's not going to ruin someone's legacy or make it overly great. I think this is just a fun thing that the NBA has implemented to give that playoff kind of vibe before the actual playoffs. And I think regardless of what happens, people will be happy. Sure, people will be sad that their team loses, but overall, I think it won't do any of that big stuff. As far as Bubble 2.0, that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. That is not true.
Yeah. I guess where I stand, like, I don't know. I kind of did say before this is just like, in the end of the day, it really is just more regular. It's just regular season games. It's just that now there's a little more incentive because the winner gets money, all across the board, like the players, the coaching staff, but it still counts toward the regular season. So with that being said, it kind of has like an all-star weekend type of feel where it's like it's nice to have that, but I don't think it comes anywhere close comparing to like an actual championship or like a league MVP or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if you want, we can progress here. We can move on to talking about two teams that have been cooking lately. Um, one of them, the Orlando Magic. They're at the time of this, they're a top four record in the NBA, which seems crazy to say. I think they had their best 20 game start in like 20 or 30 years, like since like Shaq and them. And then the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have their best start ever. They're the best record in the league currently. After 1 year after everyone said that Gobert trade was the worst trade like ever. So who has been who has been more impressive to you, the Magic or the Timberwolves?
I'm gonna say the Magic purely because I've watched more Magic games this year. I've watched a couple Timberwolves games. They've been impressive, and hearing they have the best record in the league is honestly nuts. But I'm more of a Magic guy. The Magic have been absolutely just cooking. I'm pretty sure they're on a win streak right now, right? Like 6 game win streak.
They just lost,
Maybe
but
not.
they were on a huge win
Oh,
streak. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I feel like that always happens too. Whenever I'm recording this, it's like, oh, we're gonna talk about the Magic, and then they get an L.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I would say the Magic have been a little more impressive, only because the difference between these two teams is like a game and a half, and I think most people still had the Timberwolves as like a playoff team on their radar, but I think a lot of people still thought like the Magic they're a lottery team. Now me, I said before the year they were going to be like a 7 seed anyways, the Magic, but I think I give the Timberwolves still a slightly better record. But regardless, I mean, Paulo Banchero, he's been cooking. Even like the night we're recording this is like he had a 40 piece. Franz Wagner, like he's been playing well. And they've been doing it too without who I think is a really important player, Markel Fultz, like the last like dozen games. And then Wendell Carter Jr. has been out too. I just feel like what they have is their defense, especially. Like they have the versatility to guard anybody, whether it's those guys or Jonathan Isaac or Jalen Suggs. Mo Wagner's probably underrated as a defender. Like there's just a lot of guys in that team, and I feel like they've been really impressive. And so have the Timberwolves. I mean, they are the best defensive team in the NBA, but I think a lot of people still thought like, okay, if Gobert plays to his potential, he's a defensive player of the year candidate. If McDaniels plays to his potential, he's an all defensive level player. And Anthony Edwards, he's probably one of the better two-way guards in the league. Conley's shown flashes of it, so I think the Magic maybe a little bit more, but I think both have been impressive. I don't know, like, what would you say about Minnesota? Because I know you kind of mainly talked about Orlando.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Edwards is a dog. Let me tell you, this dude is he's like the star. He's one of the biggest stars on that team for sure. Definitely a up and coming huge superstar in the league for sure. I feel like future stuff like him versus like Shea or something that's going to be crazy times to come. But yeah, Timberwolves definitely a surprising team. Um, I'll see where they end up. I don't really have much to say about them because, like I said, I haven't watched much of them, but I'll definitely watch more of them and see where they come out.
For sure. And shout out Nas Reed too. He's been kind of balling. But
Yes, sir. Love Nas Reed.
Nas Reed's that guy. But now we'll talk about a few teams that have been on the other side of things lately. The Pistons and the Spurs. The Pistons, they just lost again. I believe now they're sitting at 18 straight losses. Last time they won was against my Bulls. It's tragic. It's sad. But as for the Spurs, like they've lost 15 straight too, and I feel like not enough people are talking about the Spurs just because the Pistons losing streak is more. But like the Spurs have lost 15 straight with Victor Wembanyama on their team, and I know like most of their team is like still a lot of other young guys that maybe probably won't last too long in the NBA regardless. There's a few like exceptions to that, but do you think either of these teams, the longest losing streak ever is 26? So I think the Pistons would need to lose like nine more, and the Spurs would need to lose 12 more. Do you think either of these teams could make the wrong side of history?
I mean, obviously the Pistons have a bigger lead in that, so I think it might be them. I think the Spurs are still going to squeak out a few more wins because they're a very talented team. They just have so many issues with their lineups. For example, like for example, Jeremy Sohan at the point guard position. He's fine, but he's not like a true point guard. And I remember I've heard some rumors about like how Popovich is running this like he's like testing things basically with Sohan at the point. And I guess Wemby isn't like getting as much touches as he normally would. So I don't know. It just seems really awkward to me. I don't know. I think they'll figure it out eventually before the Pistons do. That's for sure. Because Pistons are all over the place. I feel bad for Cade. I'm not gonna lie. Because he's hooping, but they just can't get any wins. But I think it for sure will be the Pistons.
Yeah, it almost feels like both of these teams, like primarily there's like one guy who's been a constant, like that's been healthy every game. And it's like if you play through him, you have a chance. And if you play through anybody else, you're probably doomed. And that's not to say guys like Devin Vassell or like Keldon Johnson on the Spurs and stuff like that aren't great. Um, but I just feel like if they're your number one and two option on a team, it's not going to bode well, at least like in 2023, right? And then same thing for the Pistons. It's like outside of Cade, I mean, granted, they did just get Bojan Bogdanovic back, which is huge. But I think, you know, given like Killian Hayes has been playing big minutes and like their big man logjam is pretty mid to say the least. I mean, like I don't want to like be disrespectful, but like respectfully with I don't want to be disrespectful, but respectfully. No, like
Yeah,
Marvin Bagley and like James Wiseman and Isaiah Stewart and like a lot of those guys like I don't know like where I see them as like franchise bigs. Now Jalen Duran, I think he is. Like I think he has that potential. I don't know if he's quite to the caliber of like a top half center in the league for starting centers yet, but I think one day he will get there. As of right now, it's just like it's right now just like kind of Cade, like it's kind of all on his shoulders. Um, and I do think I think their next three games are pretty easier opponents, not like super easy, but more easier than they've dealt with. And with Bogdanovich back, I think they have a chance to end that in the next three games. But if they don't end it in the next three games, they might make history on the on the wrong side of things because it's
they
only going to
just
get
might.
harder.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then with the Spurs, it's like I feel like a lot of those guys, it's just kind of it's weird to say the Spurs are dysfunctional, but they play very disorganized for the group that they have. And a lot of those young guys are trying to prove themselves like, oh, I want my shots. I was getting 20 a game last year. I was getting 18. I was getting 14. So they still want their shots. It almost feels like when if you remember like when LeBron came in the league and like guys like Darius Miles and like Ricky Davis and those guys were saying like, oh, well, we don't really need him. But it's like at the end of the day, he's better than all you guys. So it's like,
yeah.
and he was out the gate too. So it's like it just it feels a little bit like they haven't understood that a little bit and they don't want to um like cave into it essentially. Like in 3 years, it's going to be undoubtedly Wemby is going to be miles better than anybody else on that whole roster, right? But right now, like
Yeah.
he's still young, and they're like, you got to earn your stripes, kind of thing, and it's it hasn't looked good. I mean, some of their wins was when Wemby was playing really good, like the Suns game. I believe they beat him twice. Both those games he was playing really well, and the Rockets game too. Like I don't know. I just think it's not looking good.
It's not like everyone's trying to be the star of the team, and they're just having it's like they're having a fight for leader of the team because there's like right now there's no leader. There's no leader. There's like four or five guys all trying to fight for leader of the team, and then there's Wemby just trying to play basketball, bro. So they got to figure out this leader thing quick, and who is the guy to just lead them to the promised land. But until then, it's going to be rough for them.
Monty Williams being the highest paid contract of a coach by the Pistons is looking pretty bad right now. And then
It's horrible.
yeah, and if the Spurs get back to back number one overall picks, I don't know what I'm gonna do, especially with one of them being Wemby. Gosh, but yeah, I don't know. If you want, we can move on to the next topic, which is kind of it's a little bit similar to what we were talking about, but kind of a different angle on it. And that's with the Pistons again. There's been a lot of rumors lately, a lot of noise about how Monty Williams, as I was talking about, he moved Killian Hayes to the starting lineup and moved Jaden Ivey to the bench, but apparently he never had a discussion with him about it. And that's kind of a red flag, I feel like, for me personally as a coach, to do that to especially a young player like Jaden Ivey. But I also think Jaden Ivey's a really good player. So what do you think about something like this? And like, do you think if a player or if a coach is going to move a player to the bench, especially a young player like that, like how important is it to have that like man to man, like one on one conversation?
Very important. The fact that he didn't say anything is you can't do that. It's bad communication, and I feel like it messes with a guy because it's like, well, what did I do, right? I feel like he's been an absolute hooper on this team. Uh, Great scorer. He's solid on defense. I mean, and then he just gets benched out of nowhere with no conversation. Like you can't. There has to be a conversation. I feel like Monty is just he took his big contract and now he's just doing whatever. He's just moving puzzle pieces here and there, and seeing what works. And I don't know. You can't. I feel like he's gotten a little cocky when it comes to this money thing because now he's just on a team where he feels like he can do whatever he wants, and he just needs to take a step back and be a coach. That's just what he needs to do.
Yeah, I think it's weird because when he joined New Orleans, they were still a relatively young team, but he brought them from like missing the playoffs to they were in the playoffs and they were relatively competitive. Then he did the same thing with Phoenix. Like he was on the first year he was with the team, 8-0 in the bubble. Next year they go to the finals, right? So like he's kind of transformed younger cores or younger talent like that. Like so even though I didn't think that was going to happen out of the Pistons over the next couple of years, like all right, they go 8-0 over a stretch and then they make the finals. Like no, that wasn't going to happen, but what I did think was going to
Yeah,
happen is
no,
that this would be a team that could like make the play in maybe or like be really close to and like at least I can't recall how many games exactly they won last year, but I think it was around like low 20s or something like that. Like I was expecting at least 30 wins out of this team this year and it's just not looking like that's going to be. But on the topic of Jaden Ivey, like and someone else said it when I was talking with them, I think even on my show, like just having Cade and Jaden Ivey seems a little bit redundant, just because like until one of them can become like an elite shooter, it's gonna almost defeat the purpose of playing both of them at the same time. And granted, I still think that Jaden Ivey is a better player than Killian Hayes. I don't think that's really even much of a debate, but I think like maybe at least for the fit so far this year, like you could give a slight edge to Killian Hayes. I just don't think it's really that dramatic that it's like, all right, like move him to the bench, even though he was starting last year and he was our one of our main guys. Actually, probably was their main young guy last year because Cade missed almost the whole season. I know Bogdanovich was playing well,
yeah,
but I feel like there could be a trade, maybe like on the horizon for um, Jaden Ivey. I know my Bulls have been like in the rumors of that. Like there's like even another team like look at like what Dallas has done with like Jaden Hardy and like some of those like guards off the bench that like could kind of play like a variety of ways. Like I feel like he could kind of do something like that on another situation. But being on the worst team in the league and then you're getting benched, especially when you were a top 5 pick like the year before, like it's just not good for your value. And I feel like he's kind of getting like the short end of the stick for no reason, really.
yeah. I agree. Honestly, seeing him on the Mavs would be kind of nice. Backup point guard. I mean, maybe, but no, he needs either something needs to switch up, or like you said, a trade might happen and he might get up out of there. And they might get somebody else, some other sad sap to get on that Pistons team. But uh, hopefully Monty can figure it out. I do want to see this Pistons team succeed and at least not look like bums out there and get some wins. So we'll see what Monty can cook up here.
You know, where he could thrive, where Jaden Ivey could thrive, is like a team like Milwaukee. I think because if you think about it, like obviously you have Dame, like he's not taking Dame's minutes, but Malik Beasley at the two, he's kind of more of like a streaky shooter, but not really known for his defense. And if you look at the guards off the bench, it's mostly like Marjan Beauchamp and Cameron Payne. Like I think there's a spot there that could be taken by a guy like Jaden Ivey if he's playing his
Yeah.
potential. And especially like he's someone who probably adds more defensively, which they've really taken a step back so far this year. And then also like he adds some athleticism, some youth, because after the Clippers made the Harden trade, now they're the oldest team in the league, but the Bucks are second. So like maybe it could be a big addition, I think, for that. I don't know what you think about him on the Bucks, though.
I would take him over Cameron Payne every day. I really would. Cam Payne's fine, but no. Honestly, I don't care about Cam Payne, so put him on the Pistons. Get Jaden Ivey over there. He'd be a great dude off the bench, honestly, for his athleticism, his quickness, his determination, all that. Cam Payne, I don't know. He just kind of on the court to play make a little bit and maybe shoot that weird ass lefty jumper. So
Where he like hitches down like his neck and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
I don't know how he even shoots it like that.
I couldn't
But
tell you.
yeah, if you want though, we can move on here. We can talk about the next topic. I guess it's a little bit similar to what we talked about with the Spurs, but kind of on the other side of things. We all know Victor Wembanyama, all the hype around him. And he's had a pretty solid year, I would say. But you could probably make an argument that one guy who's technically a rookie, even though he wasn't drafted this past year, but by technicality is a rookie, Chet Holmgren. Do you think, right now he's averaging, I think, a little bit less points. Rebounds are similar. The blocks are very similar. A lot of the stats are, but one of these guys is on a top three team in one of these guys is on a top three team in the West, and another guy is on a bottom three team in the NBA. So, and
Yeah,
granted, like that's not all Wemby's fault, but do you think that there is a good chance that Chet could win Rookie of the Year? And if so, like what percent chance would you give that?
I'm giving it a high, eh, 65% chance. I mean that's it's not too high, but not too low. I just really do think that. I mean, he's been balling, absolutely hooping for the Thunder, one of the top teams in the NBA, which is funny to say as well. But honestly, the last couple of years, that team's been thriving and thriving and thriving. So, and honestly, he's deserved this after last year when he didn't play at all because of that injury. Really unfortunate. He probably could have had that breakout that year, unlike he did this year. But like this year is his year. He's playing well. And yeah, I'm pretty sure he's already number one rookie for rookie of the month or rookie of the year, right? Or is it
Yeah,
somebody
I
else?
think he was number one on the latest rookie ladder. So yeah.
Right, right. So he's already on pace. So I think he's got a good shot. Now Wimby might sneak up in there, but I think he's got a good chance if he keeps playing the way he's playing.
Yeah, I think, there's for one, there's a lot of season left. So it's not like it's over for Wemby or anything like that. Like I
That's
said,
true. That's true.
the stats are close. I do think in the second half of the year, Wemby is going to kind of turn it up a notch. Whereas I don't think Chet will need to, because it's like you also have a superstar like SGA kind of like running the charge there. Maybe over time, like Chet will kind of take like more of the more of the keys per se. But I do think with the Spurs, I think eventually, like maybe after All Star break, it's going to kind of just be like the Wemby show. Essentially, they're not going to be in the mix of anything except for that number one pick again. But yeah, I think with Chet, it's really hard too because I feel like if it's like like in baseball, how they say like the tie goes to the runner, where it's like all right, if you field it, you throw it, but tie goes to the runner. I feel like the tie in this case would go to Wemby. Like I feel like if they had like an equal performance or something like that, like maybe Wemby's stats are a little bit better, but Chet's record's a little bit better. I think if it evened out, they're going to give it to Wemby just because he has more hype around him, and also with that, like maybe more pressure. But I think right now it's kind of tough to give it to Wemby because it's like you could argue Chet's stats right now are just better, and his team is substantially better. So with that being said, it's like where's the argument for a guy like Victor Wembanyama? It's not really there. But I think his points will probably go up like maybe about like I think right now he's averaging like 18 a game. He'll probably average like 22 by the end of the year. I think he's averaging like somewhere like 8 or so rebounds a game. He'll probably average 9.5 by the end of the year. His blocks will probably stay the same, but after that, it's like okay, well his stats are a little bit better. It's a little bit similar, I think. The year LeBron and Carmelo Anthony were rookies, and I thought Carmelo should have won it because they really had identical stats, kind of. But Melo's team made the playoffs, and they were like 7 games better than LeBron's team. But they gave it to LeBron, and I think part of that was also like the hype that he had as opposed to a guy like Melo, and maybe like the pressure that came with that. So that's why I think like it could lean in Wemby's favor if it's close, but right now I probably would give a slight edge to Chet just because like there's not like a whole lot to argue for Wemby.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And also, I don't want them to snub Chet like that either, just because of some hype. I mean, I get it, but I don't want my guy getting snubbed of that because he's been putting in the hard work. Granted, I know Wemby's in a whole different situation, different teams, different records, yada yada yada. But still, he's been dropping 20 plus points a game, 30 plus points a game, whatever it is. And I just feel like he definitely does deserve it. But we'll see what happens.
It's crazy how we can say like the hype for Chet isn't enough, which is true, but it's like when he was at like Gonzaga the year before, like everyone was talking about Chet. Like people wanted him like to lose so bad. Like honestly, of those top three picks, like him, Paulo, and Jabari Smith Jr., like he probably had like the most fans or the most haters coming into that year. So
Yeah.
and that's maybe another reason why it's I guess like a rare case, but I don't know. I think right now Chet's the favorite. I did pick Wemby before the year, so I'm gonna stick with Wemby for now because it's not like he's having like a you know like a Scoot Henderson start to the year or something like that. No
Right,
disrespect
right.
to Scoot, but yeah, haven't been playing all too well other than like maybe 2 games. But yeah, if you want though, we can move on here to the next topic. Um, and this one is talking about a retired NBA player now who announced his retirement over the past couple days, and not someone super huge, but he did have his highlights back in the day. And obviously, you play 2K, I play 2K. I think this guy was like a 2K machine. Everyone loved to use him, probably like 2K 14, 15, and like really when they put a throwback card of him in my team, like he was always like one of those guys. It's like he's basically like a demigod on the court. Like he can do everything, 3 and D, and he's fast, whatever. But that's Terrence Ross. He played a lot of those years. He was really a high flyer with Toronto, and he still kind of had that with Orlando, but kind of became more so like a shooter than he was in Toronto. And then he finished off with the Suns just like part of last year. Like what are your thoughts on Terrence Ross officially retiring from the NBA?
Well, first off, I'm going to start off saying I didn't fully know about this. I think I did see something on Twitter, but I kind of just kept scrolling. But now hearing this from you, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But
I will say too, like
yeah,
it
that
was it
dude.
was weird because he was at the Magic game, And then they just announced it like three minutes after they showed him at the Magic game. So I'm like, that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, like in hearing that too, like that's a weird way to like. And granted, he wasn't like a huge player or anything like that. It's just like his jersey retired or whatever. But like, just like, hey, he's retired. I'm just like, okay. But nah, this dude was a solid player. I loved watching him just reverse windmill dunk in random moments in the games of the Magic and in Toronto too. Toronto, he was a hooper. I love his 2K card. Always loved his 2K card. I got it every time I could. Definitely, he was definitely a budget beast back in those days. But yeah, it's you love to see him play. You hate to see him go. Hopefully, I wish him a good retirement, and maybe he'll still be playing 2K and just cooking dudes on there too. So
Yeah. I did see a short, like, I think a couple days before he announced it, that like made me think he probably will retire, but or it was like a TikTok or something like that. But like he was streaming because like now he does like the streaming stuff. But he's like someone asked him like are you gonna play again in the NBA? And he's like, I don't know. Like he just like kind of seemed like over it. He's like, yeah, I'm like if they call my name or something, like maybe, but I don't really know. So like I feel like usually like when players get to that point, they're almost like, yeah, like the door's closing, like and maybe I'll be the like last one to push it shut or something like that. But at least like with Terrence Ross, like I said, like he really kind of evolved into like that 3-and-D guy. He didn't really, it almost felt like he wasn't, he had a lot of crazy moments in Toronto, but it almost felt like he wasn't there long enough. And really the bulk of his career actually ended up in Orlando. And I think that's where he's living now. But, he still had some like high moments, like even on those playoff teams, like helping out like younger teams, really kind of being a mentor in Orlando. And then also like kind of being that guy who really was kind of like the backup to DeMar DeRozan in Toronto for a while there. And then, obviously with Phoenix last year, he didn't really wasn't there too long. But overall, it is tough. I think like
he
at
was on the
least in the
Suns.
yeah, like it was not good. it
Oh
was
no,
it
I'm glad I
almost
didn't hear about that.
it almost felt like he collected one paycheck and it's like, all right, I'm out of here. But no, he yeah, I would say like at least in the modern day, like everyone talks about like guys like Gerald Green like being elite in 2K and like elite for his dunking, and he kind of came a little bit after that. Like I would say he was kind of like the next like wave of NBA fans version of like Gerald Green, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. If you want though, we can move on here to where the fun really begins, and that is the mini game. So basically, it's called the NBA Fast Money mini game. So I don't know if you've ever watched much Family Feud, but after the team wins, they bring like two people up, and then they have like usually 20 or 25 seconds to answer like five questions. Like maybe an example would be like name a fruit, and then you're like orange, and then orange gets like 17 points on the survey or something like that. So your goal is to try and
Right.
get as many points as possible. I'm going to ask you five questions because we are in different uh, parts of the world right now. I guess, or not. We're not in the same location essentially, but and especially I think it's useful today because we already had the internet issues. I'm going to give you 60 seconds instead of 20.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you five NBA questions. If I say, like, give me an NBA player, but I don't specify current or former, then you can just give me any player all time. Um, and if I do specify, then you got to give me a different guy, you know.
Okay.
So again, I'm gonna give you 60 seconds. So we're gonna see how you do. You're gonna try and get as many points as you can based on survey responses. So are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Let me make sure my alarm when it ends is not playing because a weird noise will come through the microphone otherwise. Um, all
All
right. I'll,
right.
I'll try to do my best to read quickly as well. But if I really mess up, then I guess I'll maybe like give you extra time, but that hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
So you're ready, right?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. In five, four, three, two, one. Give me an NBA team with a foreign star currently on the team.
Oh,
You can pass if you need
oh
to.
no. I'm passing.
Give me an NBA player that's known for shooting logo threes.
Steph Curry.
Give me a shooting guard with more than 20,000 career points besides MJ or Kobe.
Mm, Vince Carter.
Give me any NBA player in history taller than Victor Wembanyama.
Bol Bol.
Give me an NBA team Jeff Green has played for.
The Rockets.
Okay, and back to number one. You said give me an NBA team with a foreign star currently on the team. A foreign player that's a star.
Oh, foreign. Luca.
You got that in the last second. I'm also gonna ask
Jesus.
you. I'm also gonna ask you because I think you might have meant something else. Did you mean Manute Bull when you said Bull Bull? I'm gonna
Oh no.
I'm gonna give it to you, but if you because that's probably what you meant, right?
I did mean Bol Bol. I mean Manu
Manute
Bol.
Bull,
Christ.
Manute Bull. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna give it to you
Goodness.
because I'm like, who would just randomly say Bull Bull with all due respect? But anyways, um, so let me hold on a second. I'm trying to mark down all your responses and stuff like that. Okay. So the first answer, which again was the last one you answered because you skipped, you
Yep.
said, wait, where is it? Okay. Yeah. Give me an NBA team with a foreign star currently on the team. You said, uh, the Mavericks because of Luca. That got you 27 points. Pretty good. Pretty good. That was the second best answer. The best answer would have just been the Nuggets because of Jokic. Um,
Oh yeah.
You also had the Bucks because of Giannis, the Sixers because of Embiid, and a few people even said the Magic because of Franz Wagner, I believe. I
Oh,
think
okay.
that's who they were referring to, or because
Right, right.
well, it would only got you like 5 points, so it wasn't really a great answer. But all right,
Yeah.
second one, you said give me an NBA player that's known for shooting logo threes. You said Steph Curry. Also, a pretty solid answer. That was number two on the board with 31 points. Number one was Damian Lillard, as he's named Logo Lillard. But
That's true.
it is again like going off like what the people say. So I can see like where you were thinking with Steph Curry. Other people that got some votes were Trey Young, Lamelo Ball, Luca did get some, and then two people even said Kristaps Porzingis. Don't know
Wow.
why.
Interesting.
Must have been really big fans. Okay, so give me a shooting guard with more than 20,000 career points besides Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. You said Vince Carter. It was on there, but it was the lowest answer that was on there. So you got 2 points for that one. The higher answers were Allen Iverson, Jerry West, James Harden, Reggie Miller, D Wade, Clyde Drexler, and Ray Allen. So
Gotcha.
yeah, there was a lot there, but at least you did get a couple points there. Those 2 points feel special. Um, anyways, the fourth one, give me any NBA player in history taller than Victor Wembanyama. You said or meant Manute Bol. That was the second answer on there, so that is 21 points. Not too shabby. You're getting a lot of the second best answers. But number one was my guy Yao Ming.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And then also on there was Sean Bradley, Taco Fall, Simbu Lar, and George Murasan. So
Yep. The GOAT.
quite the cast, indeed the goat. And then the last one, give me an NBA team Jeff Green has played for. You said the Rockets, which is where he currently is. That was on there. That got you 5 points. There were a lot of answers actually on this one. The leading answer was the Celtics because I think that's where he like was at his best. The Thunder slash
Yeah.
Sonics was also on there. And then the Nuggets got a lot. The Grizzlies, the Cavaliers, the Nets, the Rockets were next. Then it was the Magic, Jazz, Clippers, and the Wizards. So
I did not know he played for the Grizzlies. That's crazy.
yeah, it wasn't too long, but it was like I think it was like right after the Celtics, which
Mm,
I can see why it was that high because like that's how he left there essentially. But yeah, he went like I'm not gonna know off the top of my head, but I know he went like Thunder, Boston, and then like Memphis, and then you know the rest. I mean,
right, right, right.
but anyways, and now he's on the Rockets, obviously. But overall, you still got 5 points there. You got 21 for Manu Bowl. You got 2 for Vince Carter. You got 31 for Steph Curry, and you got 27 for the Mavs. That got you 86 points overall. I mean, that's not too shabby, not too bad. What do you think?
Okay, okay. I think that's pretty good. I'm so mad I screwed that bowl thing up. I'm gonna get hated on in the comments for that one. I feel like.
Next time you'll need to review your bowls.
Yes, yes, I will.
But no, I mean I could tell like you knew which one it was. I think you just said the wrong thing. And actually, you wouldn't even be the first person who's messed that up because I think someone has actually called Manu Bull on Bullony basketball before. So that
Oh
is
no.
fair. Um, but yeah, I mean, you did get points on every single one. Not everyone has done that. I think that's somewhere in the middle for the scoring right now, so not too shabby.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, W performance, and I feel like this was a W episode. We had some complications, but we made it work. We got through to the end. But yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. You got any final thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Just thank you for having me, man. As always.
Yes, sir. And if you guys haven't already, go check out my guy Michael down below. I'm gonna have his stuff in the description. But yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching, and we're out. Peace.